It's the Happy Families podcast. It's the podcast for the time-poor parent who just wants answers now.
Hello, it's Dr. Justin Coulson, the founder of happyfamilies.com.au, author of, can you believe it? My 8th book comes out on the 1st of May. It's only a few weeks away, just around the corner. And I am here with Christine Layton, ABC Perth and Western Australia Afternoons presenter, who has kindly given up some time this week to hang out with me and share some podcast ideas because Mrs. Happy Families, Kylie, is being... I don't know how to say this without getting myself in trouble, but she's being mum. She's decided she's done with the podcast this week. She just wants some time with the kids. She said, Justin, you go and do it. So here I am. I'm doing it. And Christine, thanks for filling in and being Mrs. Happy Families today.
It's an honour. It's an honour, Justin. And look, thank you so much for releasing your next book on my birthday.
Really? May 1?
Yeah, May 1. That's right. May Day, as my mum would say.
Of course, yeah. Well, happy birthday. My book, can we talk about it for a second? I know we've got another topic, but my book is called
Tell me everything.
The Parenting Revolution, because I think we need one. And I'm so we should actually talk about this on ABC Perth and WA when the book comes out. Would that be okay? Would you be up for that?
Oh, always, Justin. That's why I wanted to know more about it so I could start taking notes. So what's it about?
Well, it's kind of like about the past, present, and future of parenting. I look at have you heard of the book series Horrible Histories?
Yes, I have. Is that different to Drunk Histories but without the alcohol?
Yeah, well, I think that there was probably alcohol involved in most of those horrible histories as well. But the history of parenting is perhaps the most horrible history of all. It's absolutely devastating when you dive into what historians have uncovered about how children used to be raised. And so the first couple of chapters, I talk about what it is to be a good parent and how that's changed through the millennia and especially through recent centuries and most particularly over the last 100 years. What does it actually mean to be a good parent? And then we talk about what parenting styles are: helicopter parents and tiger parents and gentle parents and free-range parents, the whole lot. As well as the academic version of that, the authoritative, the authoritarian, and the permissive parent. And essentially, I highlight why they're so popular, these parenting styles, and also what's wrong with them. And then we talk about the future of parenting, where we need to go. And I talk about this thing that's called need-supportive parenting, which I think is the parenting revolution that we need. It's the kind of parenting that says our children have basic psychological needs, and if we can create an environment that supports those needs, oh my goodness, they thrive, they flourish, they're motivated, their well-being is high. They just become great, well-adapted kids. And so the rest of the book is essentially, how do we create that environment? How do we support those? What are those needs and how do we support them? So the Parenting Revolution, May 1, it's coming up soon.
This sounds like the book version of parental guidance in a way, Justin, because I love seeing you on screen with the various labels talking through how they do and don't work, but then you've got the future of parenting as well. So definitely bookmark that for ABC Radio Perth and WA. That's great. Now, I wanted to ask you what to do when a child starts lying. There are two parts to this. Can I tell you two very short stories?
Yeah. Well, you have a 4-year-old, so I'm going to guess this is a personal one, right? You're after some therapy in today's podcast. Am I right?
Maybe. It actually starts with me. Now, I was in year 2. I was doing very rebellious things like cutting my own fringe during class with scissors. I went to a friend's house without asking mum, and these were the days without mobiles, so she didn't know where I'd gone. Poor Jane Gardner, and she was never my friend again. But what I did do was I pretended that I had a mole removed to get attention at school. And I remember doing this to get everyone's, love and affection and sympathy. And mum and dad sat me down and said, why did you do that? And of course, in year 2, I had no idea. Looking back, my brother had just been born. I think he was maybe 1 or 2 years old, and I was probably lacking that affection. And so the second part of this is the fact that my daughter is now 4 years old. I'm not putting my template onto her, but she's very similar to me in terms of characteristics. She's very excited about her baby brother, which is currently in my belly right now. She's got little dolls and feeds them and puts them in the walker so that they can have a little nap. But I am concerned that when baby number 2 comes along, that she will also be seeking that connection, or that she'll use that connection-seeking behaviour, as you call it, which is such a useful term. So what do you do when your child starts lying? I mean, when mum and dad sat me down and said this is the wrong thing to do, I understood why, but from memory, Justin, I kept doing it.
Yeah.
And then I had to learn a lesson. So what do you do?
I love your stories. I love how you've picked them out. When you were sharing those, it reminded me of a story from when I was a kid. I used to exaggerate all the time. I used to tell lies to my friends because I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be cool. And you just reminded me of maybe the biggest one that I ever told, which was in 1990. There was this concert. It was like a multi-city live broadcast of the first ever National Australian Music Day. It was called Oz Music 1990. And they had performers in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth. And I'm talking all of Australia's biggest acts. We had John Farnham and do you remember Joe Camilleri and the Black Sorrows?
Yeah.
Paul Kelly and the Messengers, if I recall correctly, played in Adelaide, and I loved Paul Kelly. Wendy Matthews, Crowded House, Boom Crash Opera. I mean, it was huge, and it was telecast on I don't know, Channel 7 or Channel 9 or something. And when I showed up to school on the Monday, so this was on a Saturday, and on the Monday when I showed up for school, one of my friends asked me what I did, and I said I went to Adelaide for the Oz Music concert. Because I wanted to be the cool kid who got to go to this show. And because I'd watched it all afternoon on TV because I was such a music nut, I knew everyone that had performed and all the songs that they'd played. And I just told this great big lie and I got to be cool for the day because my parents flew me to Adelaide in 1990 to see Oz Music. And it never happened. And like I hear your story and I'm like, don't all kids do that? Don't we all tell lies so that we can look better, so that we exaggerate, so that we can look good? I know that's a tangent. That moves away from what your original question was, but I don't know. I needed to confess to you, Christine. I needed to get off my chest.
I'm so glad you did. But also, I mean, as an ABC presenter, that is the ultimate lineup. Could you imagine if that happened now?
Oh,
I would probably lie to my friends too.
I'm just Googling it as we speak. So this is not the entire lineup, but the top lineup. Have a listen to this. We've got Ice House, Mental as Anything, Tim Finn, Crowded House, Boom Crash Opera, Kate Sobrano, Ian Moss, Wendy Matthews, Paul Kelly, the Black Sorrows, John Farnham. I mean, wow,
you pretty much got it right, by the way, Justin. You've got a really good memory.
You know what? I really love my music. I remember a lot of stuff when it comes to music. I'm putting together a music trivia night at the moment and I'm having so much fun just getting ready to destroy everyone with my music knowledge. But anyway, we digress. Now, what was the specific question again? Because I got so caught up in my story. That's
fine. That was a fun little music nerd session. What do you do when your child starts lying?
Yeah, okay, that's right. So the best thing to do is you know the pump soap. You just get them to open up their mouth, squirt a few squirts of pump soap into their mouth, get them to swish it around their teeth. No, I'm just kidding. Please, if anyone
sounds like a horrible history.
If anybody heard me say that and thought I was being serious, let me be absolutely clear. Never, ever, 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 never wash your kid's mouth out with soap. I think we've got to pause and just consider why is our child lying. And when it comes to lying to us, they'll lie for a few reasons. The first reason that they lie is because they just don't want to be in trouble. They're terrified that if we know the truth, that they're going to be in big trouble. The second reason is because they want to protect their self-esteem. Like, I believe that I'm a good person and I need my parents to believe that I'm a good person. And if I tell them the truth about this thing that I've done, I'm going to look like I'm a bad person. And that means that I also have to admit that I'm a bad person. The third reason that kids tell lies, if we go back to my Oz Music story and your story from earlier as well, is because we want to look good. We want to look competent, capable. We want to look like we have got it all together. I mean, this is why kids lie about having the room done or having their homework done. It's not always because they want to get out of trouble. It's because even if they're struggling with their maths, they're like, no, I'm fine, because they want to appear that they've got it all together. They want it to look like everything's fine, because to suggest otherwise is to indicate that they are incompetent. And kids, they want to look competent. So that's the first thing. Let's just understand why our child is lying. There may be some other reasons as well, but they to me are going to be the central ones. So what do we do? I think the first thing that we want to do, well, it kind of depends on the context, but the first thing we want to do typically is reassure them that they're not going to get in trouble no matter what. The last thing that you want your kids thinking is that you are going to be nasty to them because they've told you the truth. The stakes are kind of low when they're 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But when they're 15 or 17, the stakes are a lot higher. And you really want them to be able to come to you as a 17-year-old and call you at 11 o'clock on Saturday night and say, I'm in trouble. I've done some dumb things tonight and I need your help. I can't get out of this situation on my own. Like, the stakes are much higher at that point. And if they know that they won't get in trouble, then that goes a long way to alleviating the anxiety they feel around telling the truth.
Have you heard of Plan X, Justin?
Plan X. Is that the thing where you send a text message with an X to say, I need help? Is that the...
Yes. A listener told me about this a few weeks ago, and that the agreement is if you send that X, then you there's a script that you follow. You know, you say, look, I give them a call. I've got to go home. Cool. You'll be there in 5 minutes, no matter where they are. If they've gone to a party, 20 kilometres away, doesn't matter. And then they can tell you as little or as much as they want to. And that's the Plan X agreement. I thought that was really cool. And it kind of ties into that. And I'm going to bookmark it because Bonnie is absolutely going to party hard.
Yeah, that's right. This 4-year-old, you can see it. So that brings us to I think, one of the things that parents get wrong when it comes to dishonesty all the time, and that is, we walk into the room. Let's say you've got a 4-year-old who's been a little bit of a cheeky monkey. You walk into the room and you say, did you do this thing, whatever it is? Did you hit your brother? Did you steal the cookies from the cookie jar? Did you? And we ask them a question that we already know the answer to, which is a fatal mistake, because now they're in a bind. With young children, they've got limited access to the information that's in our head. They just don't have the developmental capacity to go, oh, I wonder what my parents really know. But with older children, it makes it even more taxing, because they're like, oh, I reckon they do know, but I'm going to try and get away with it, because what if they don't? They start to play these mind games. What happens when we say, did you, when we already know the answer? If they tell the truth, they know they're in trouble. But if they tell a lie, now they're in double trouble, because not only have they told a lie, but they've also done the wrong thing. And so the rule is, when you walk into the room to talk to your child about a misbehavior, a misdemeanor, a challenging issue, never, ever, ever ask them a question you know the answer to. Instead, walk in and say, I just walked past this doorway and I saw you throw the Tonka truck at your brother's head and now he's crying. And now your child is very unlikely to look at you and say, I did not, because you've just told them, I walked past the door and I watched you throw the Tonka truck at your brother's head. Like, that's the end of that conversation. And then we get to move on with what happens next. We don't have to deal with lying. So often we set our kids up to lie by asking them questions that we know the answer to, and with them being afraid of getting in trouble, they're now going to try and get out of it. So I guess that's a kind of long way to answer your question, but there are a couple of things that parents need to do when their kids start lying. Yeah. The next thing that I would say is we just say to our kids, we need to have a chat about this thing, and we remind them of what honesty is and why honesty is important, and then we have a chat about it. If they're still lying because they're terrified they're going to get in trouble, and we know that they're lying, you can sit there and argue and say, hey, I know you're lying. And they're going to say, but I'm not lying. I know you're lying. I'm not lying at all. It's the truth. And you both end up in this horrible spiral. So it's best to say, right now you're having a hard time with the truth, and we both know that. So we'll have this conversation in half an hour, or we'll have this conversation tomorrow. You're not in trouble. I love you too much to get you in trouble. But we do need to work this out, because we can't keep having these situations. And so what we're doing is we're downplaying the drama. We're letting them know that we understand why they're lying. And we'll have the conversation a bit later when we can all tell the truth.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good idea. Oh, I'm glad these are recorded, Justin, so I can play it back in, 1 or 2 years' time when things, really escalate. But, in the meantime, you're absolved of your lying sins. Just let that be clear.
Can't believe that I confessed that. Well, I hope that it's been helpful. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rollon from Bridge Media. Craig Bruce is our executive producer. And for more information about making your family happier, we would love for you to visit our Facebook page, Dr. Justin Coulson's Happy Families, or happyfamilies.com.au. Christine, let's do it again tomorrow.
Yeah, deal. See you, Justin.